So, Anytime Fitness. You've got Roger Toll probably wanting to extend the monorail from where it's ending up right now in the city. And he's on this denial run that he stole from my former residence in 2010, within moments after my end of working for Capital Canvas. A bag full of non-incriminating personal effects that were of value, were and are of value to me, and that by merit alone of them not being personally returned to me with apologies and offers for massages with happy endings and things like that, that the bag, the indecency of him stealing it from me, and its non-incriminating content prove of Roger things like sexual interest in his own mother, and things of this kind. Now, the bag was primarily purple and green in colour, and you have, I think, also you've got Roger wanting to say that his primary location for surveillance is not subsurface. Law of the land down under, there where he was stating because of the cult he's in, and what he's into in terms of research. Now, so you're gonna have the Gungahlin end of the tram, and aren't I a doll on the tram? I'm on the tramadol, and the doll, he'll want to call me a doll bludger, because he's certainly not a biphobe, trying to say die bisexual, trying to say die on a bridge, trying to say, well, he's trying to say a lot of things, but he's on the run, and he's going to beware to try and falsify that he illegally researches from underground, probably somewhere like the Anytime Fitness building in the city, an office up there where they have a purple logo of a dude in motion on the run. Gungahlin tram ends at Gungahlin station, where you see a clock that essentially, well, it's a clock that presents itself in the shape of, one to have copter rapine. Who might orchestrate such events? Well, someone who has no means to essentially. What Roger's like, though he hates and uses Christians, he is himself a harmonist, which is someone who thinks that so to be a martyr and martyred for your cause, you have to have your cause elucidated, made clear, and then you're right to martyr them for an idiotic cause. But in order to come to a definition of what constitutes Jesus' cause, and Jesus is his template for a martyr, he mashes together all four of these Gospels. Three of them are the equivalent of corrupt police concealments of the first and original. So the cause that he thinks he's martyring Jesus for is is like a cube. To the power of three other Gospels written in concealment of the first, The first being an abduction by monetary ransom, so he'll offer bribes. Because see, what he can't do is ultimately rationalize what made this guy a martyr. Once, what do you mean by how and why he's a martyr? Even if you take, the guy claimed, it said, I mean, he puts words in the guy's mouth, for instance, to start with, because it wasn't Jesus' testimony to have, walked on water. These are written about him, and they're written about him post-mortem, and they're written about him post-mortem cross-paganism, and they're written about post-mortem cross-paganism in defense of a Bronze Age monarch of inbreeders. When he had nothing to do with Roger had nothing to do with wanting to Roger Ramsay's mum, but rather have you echo him. Roger, copy that over and over and blah blah blah. So anytime fitness with its purple logo matches the color, part of the color of my bag, and what you got. Anyway, this is an investment class corrupt businessmen, and what they're about. So where was near the museum and under a man-made lake is now moved to say he is in a. See, I'm actually doing my the work up here in anytime fitness. My partner, don't you know him? He's a doppelganger of Robert Di Castello, who is the commercial harlot for Central Multivitamins A to Z. It's all essential vitamins and minerals in a daily tablet. Now, Roger Mark Nelson is wanted for imprisonment on multiple criminal grounds, obstruction of justice, child abduction while assigning a sexual orientation, while keeping employee off the books in what's called a test by his insistence, a test scenario, a test situation, which means you aren't allowed to counteract. You actually aren't allowed to read what your rights as an employee are, much less to know when to call an employer out of line. I can remember a young girl who I worked with at Hughes say that she found the thoughts of the elderly having sex to her disappeal. Now I didn't find them to be. I'd make jokes with those that were into making jokes. One woman on a scooter would say she was a stroke survivor, and I would sometimes while she'd get off a scooter and sit in a chair, she'd offer a scooter to me to do a quick lap around the Hughes shops and back. And there was one particular day I'd served her, and she had said, I said something like, "Now when are you and I going to scoot off together at the sunset?" And I said, it's the way you keep giving me these winks, darling. And she said, "Winks? I'm a fucking stroke survivor. I can't move my eye." And then she said, "Actually, you'd be surprised what a woman who has lost feeling in one of her legs is capable of." And we mutually laughed. This employee, young girl, and I defended her right to. How could it be bullshit to state a preference or an opinion that she found the thoughts of the elderly having sex to be distasteful? And Peter Holder absolutely drilled her, going on to talk to me about how much he disliked her personality and that he was considering firing her for the remark. And I thought, that's disgusting. That's really, really disgusting. On the one hand, I've now learned enough to realize that you painted a feigning, this facade of how it's such a morally superior calling than being in Woolworths. Bullshit. There's less side effects to celery, and there's less vegetables in the in the fruit section than in a chemist dispensary. Now, yeah, so I don't respect Peter Holder, because what's he trying to say conversely by implication that these underage employees is to perhaps respect the mighty penis of P. John Holder. So fuck, how many words do you want embedded in your fucking senior citizen name that have enough to do with holding your penis, than that you want to fucking extol schoolgirl employees, indict them for the right to say they don't find you, perhaps, or your age range, grandiose in relation to sex appeal at the high school, college level. So Peter John Holder, which, actually, now I think about it, might be about him holding onto a toilet bowl more so than his, yeah, he's cunt by that. His wife, she was created from his beer drinking manliness. I mean, beer backwards. Yeah, cage. Wouldn't put her in a cage. Nah, the old ball and chain. I remember I joked that during the Little Britain, the rise and pinnacle of. Do you remember when Little Britain was in season? Vicky Pollard. No. What was your answer to question 1 in the assessment test? Yeah, but no. Don't give me evils. No, what I'm gonna say is I've already talked actually about typecast about authority figures who I've found to be this actually can extend back to teachers who say that working with you, and Roger will seal this terminology when he means the absolute something excruciatingly contrary, because he's constantly trying to extort various surveillance of his business practice, because he's wanting to find ways to exchange. It's like when they had tried to fix me up with this workplace superior Tanya. She drive. I have no driver's license, no driving experience. The closest anyone could come to making any claim to the contrary was Michael Zabo giving me a car he didn't give me any driving lessons to drive in, like a shitty old automatic. I don't know how to even start the I was actually going to say the exhaust. I don't even know how to state the what's not the engine? Isn't there another term for the prelude to the engine? And anyway, yeah. So he'd given me this car, and I had it cubed before what I've realized they've wanted to do is, they've proven one thing wrong about the principle of art to begin with. That if you want to inquire into someone's interpretation about a piece of art, just ask them. They know you know that you've watched a piece of art, experienced a piece of art. If they've got questions about it, they can ask you. If they want to gather around and go, fuck, we've got a psych warden for this, because he's admitting to a bunch of things. I hate this. I detest this about Christianity. It's where they're less cautious and more stupid than Freemason and triad associated religious groups, is that they want to represent anything as of your confession, Mary, because they want to introduce any possible in conversive to their crucifixion commercials, that Jesus died while thinking of your superannuation fund. That you therefore have to confess to something. Now, they can fucking rob your grave of some of the most precious and cherished work of art that you'll encounter in the entirety of your life. So, there's about to be a lot of consequences handed out, and I honour and credit teachers who are humble that I knew, and employers, authorities in the workforce who were humble and whose morals are to be valued. It can't be turned around and stated that I've got something to say that is commensurate to a unilateral case that I'm insane in some sort of way because I have one thing in particular to say, like, for instance, against all types of authority figures or whatever. That's absolutely already. I would, unless Rotol's getting more inbred in his later years, and fuck knows how. Yeah, I mean, do you think I'm going to be disclosing and pimping out the names of authority figures in respective of where and when I was? They were the ones that took care not to infringe upon my basic rights. Now, there are also ones who, due to his survey and means of survey, Rotol will know more about than perhaps there was anything we could do about at the time. Not by virtue of me. See, when I said I've just gotten out of a Christian church, and now I'm interested in a more scientifically angled line of work, I was being threatened at that time with getting kicked out of home or finding a job by my mum, and I was not being encouraged or supported by my mum to pursue work in the direction for which I was getting the best grades at school. Even though my college were kind enough to sponsor the cost of me to attend the Canberra Institute of Technology, Bruce, just to do a semester in addition to the 12th grade on 3D animation. And they offered to sponsor my entry into this course. They paid for the course. They did more for me than in that 6 months my mother did in my whole life in terms of being the artistic inspiration. I can see Roger. When Roger's fanged profiles about me off at various people who, again, whose names I'm not obliged in this recording to specifically mention, and then does not provide me, particularly given my circumstances, with direct means to go and enter into contest against that profile, after training me for 9 years to look upon those subjugated to the Mental Health Act as inferior, as surveyed by various surveillance agencies and in various means of survey, whether they know it or not, or whether they like it or not. Most of them are mental, believe in dog. Like, he had to concoct a whole fucking bunch of bullshit, like saying, including, I think, making a claim to the police falsely that I'm a Christian or a repressed Christian. That very idea, that concept is incoherent, and it falls back on, I think, claims like, well, you know, everyone's a Christian deep down. They just haven't recognized how much they need Jesus. If I'm left to think about, as I have thought about the humanity of Jesus more so than most of the Christians I know, and more so than most of the Christian-hating alternative religions that I didn't particularly want to know about, I would be thinking of asking him out on a date, more than I would be wanting to join the Christian cult. Now, so that in itself is proof that he was imposing homosexual instruction on me while telling me I was in a test-based employment state of affairs, for which it was up for me to prove to them why it was right for me, or for them to decide whether or not it was right for me to work for them. And it took them 9 years before a contractual basis of employment was to be suggested upon. Now, I want you to think for a moment about what happened during that time the contract was brought forward. The reward was suggested, but only briefly and in concept, because Elizabeth Lee Bredon immediately said, you know, it's day work as usual. Forget about what Peter Holder said without saying in regards as to what, and she said, sign here, and she didn't sit through. You would think, with the group knowing that the contract was and all management level, shop management level staff knowing that I was not a contracted employee, that if it was to be made to my regard be a form of reward, that the shop owner to present it to me finally would, and if it was to be a female, her presence would be massive municipal progressive relief from male employer, and we think you would have at least the woman's a woman's intuitive based decency to sit down and discuss each and every statement of text on that contract. Instead, it was yet another instruction by which you might say, after 9 years of being told you're in a test-based situation that has now made your boss either a romantic partner or your parent, though, you know, those peddling the doctrine of disassociation haven't got a great deal to say about the merits of consent. They've just got things like overseas collusion to practice and hope that it knowledge of it never makes its way back to you. Now, so these people are being done for the respective crimes of which they are guilty. Roger Toll does not know the difference between admitting to guilt, backing the fuck off, getting the charges he is due, and suffering the consequences due to him. Instead, he will do things like extort the courts, claim that I have some additionally, while subjected to this test-based employment situation, constant references to the invasion of my privacy were made, and they're very offsetting of putting, because you know that if someone has done that, then the only way for them to feel morally cool about it in their own mind is to imagine that you might be out to do something worse. So that's why they're clever and wise and morally justified in being so cautionary as to violate your privacy rights. And in fact, mine needs to be reinforced, or it will suffer me physically. Because, you know, I've done more than Canberra or Australia deserve to try and go, well, look, I want to actually work and make a contribution. So I'm not going to say, like, I'm now charging you with assuming the role of, of one parent I've been separated from, while you lie about his motives, while you charge me with inheriting them, while you try and say your judgment's not religious discrimination and sex discrimination combined, because I'm just not allowed to say such things because I'm in a test-based employment situation that's non-contractual. Now, I want Roger Toll in jail on multiple life sentences since he believes in life after death. The good old lad might, such a trial hearing, going through all the details, might be a stroke of justice to it. He's like, He's the one who will go, I'm a Freemason. I'm doing more than unifying Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I'm trying to unite all the world's religions. Okay, what about unbelief? Well, unbelief is a religion too. It's just no, it's not. In fact, if you're a member of one religion, you've even conceded that you're in a state of unbelief in relation to all the religions of which you don't believe in. Now, unbelief is a religion, like is a TV station, and abstinence is a sex position. Now, I want Rod Mark be doing time. I want him not harming other fucking members and citizens of the Australian Capital Territory, and concealing how he's doing that. So what I want you to open your minds to for just a moment here is that it can even be the state of affairs that if you're made a citizen is subjected to his Roger and Gary's tag team, fag team test, illegal test scenarios, that citizen is not properly informed as to what they're about, and that the doctor is not properly informed as to what they're about, but rather language and interpretive obscuration of them both are made by the efforts of both these men. So what becomes the constituency of a doctor's view and the constituency of the citizen's view combined is conversely related and in some proportion to the extortion and deceptive techniques employed and enjoyed by Roger and Gary, who believe they're involved in population culling. Their vision for a future is some sort of caste-based, where I shifted between wondering, like, do you think that the bisexual community has something wrong with them, or are you out for them because you've actually calculated? It was the cold hard ladder that because of I think combination of factors such as the unofficiation of rights, the what can be derived from applying psychology and religion to the areas whereby the most prominent claims are made religiously, but are only used to the detriment of the citizen, and while being at the same time suggested to be separate from being a form of religious judgment altogether, such as, there's a moment of childhood sexual embarrassment. Here's our evidence. You actually have facts where the hindsight of sexual maturity can mean that jokes about there are times in children's lives where the penis and vagina are the stuff of humor, and it's no now we're at a time when there's going to be education initiatives in books to try to help kids come to terms with what gay couples are. So they've got book titles like Daddy's New, Daddy's New Neighborhood Friend, and cartoonish books like Where Did I Come From? When you consult when your kids and you are trying to inquire into learning about concepts of sexual health, a lot of literary material you're restricted at your school library to accessing are patronizing and demeaning, so much so as to make cartoons necessary under all forms of Newtonian laws of physics, Einsteinian physics, and Niels Bohr progressive quantum physics and quantum field theory in all shapes and forms. Cartoons are fucking they're necessitated because there's bullshit being given out to kids. Now, when it's not even an atomic fact that sexually experiences of this could be classified as sexual or even possible at a particular age, it's astonishing how they even think that they can get away with trying to make such assertions. Now, there's the hindsight of you're an adult now, so looking back, what? You're from the Garden of Eden. Once again, who did Adam and Eve's kids have kids with? That's how you got a little anatomically incorrect about, why there could be any veracity or merit to these claims. See, with me and with such an intense conflict between my blood parents, it makes all the fucking difference. If you're a relative of mine and you're not against religion, you're into framing me while thinking I'm going to be twofold, double intensity, double impact into conflict perpetuation in terms of violations of the fundamental four rights of existence, to move, to express yourself, and health care. I don't believe again the religion it has its right to claim a place on a human rights act, any more than I believe a human has its right to claim its place on the Llama's Rights Act. A llama or a lemur or a tumor or a femur, the Tumors Rights Act. Well, it's metastasizing in its length, so it's why my attorney hasn't had the audacity yet to talk to me about the psych case that they've made against me. It's a simple concept for her to drum into her head, because it's the Mental Health Act, because psychology, psychiatry, and Christianity cause childhood heartbreak at the age of 5. You need only look into some fundamental concepts about the development of a 5-year-old brain. You need to look into municipal law and separation of parents, persecution, lifelong persecution, that you inherited the motives of which have been concorded and invented by gossipers of the parent from whom you're estranged, when you never reunited with them, and yet charged and indicted with inheriting these motives, from which you know from both courts and from the mother of your estranged that such motives never existed in the first place. And this isn't grave robbery. Now, me just being on, and plus, my workplace training included those on the Mental Health Act we surveyed in various means at any time, any place, and then you wonder why I lose my fucking dick. So, we'll play a little game before I go on a little bit of travelling to see to fucking justice. We'll play a little game of seeing to justice here. And it's going to start with charges filed against Roger Tall, Gary Cairns, Cassandra Smith as the initial triangle of Tuggeranong, the fucking Pogg chemist of the south side of the capital chain. Once again, and the film of which trying to say, well, he deserves everything he gets because he's this film, blah, 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 and it's all about lying, blah, blah, blah. First, art piece, if it was, it's an art piece, which means artificial, okay? The religious ones, you haven't squeegeed your head yet to come to terms with. In fact, you're at odds with man-made God. For instance, the claim man-made God. You've got your Bible. It's saying it's the Word of God. Okay, what does it say underneath? The King James Version. Okay, so it's the word of who? Okay, it's a word of King James. Okay, well that makes a bit more sense, doesn't it? Fucking sucks Satan's cock-sucking fucking inbred morons. Okay, now if you're after pursuing a 37-year-old man for his 5-year-old ballsack, and you don't think that's some sort of pedophilic caliber of sex offence, then get ready for municipal court hearings. Get ready to have the matter discussed. Because I'm fucking disgusted with you. I no longer believe in Australia at all. At fucking all. There are certain individual people whose friendships I admire, respect, and am thankful for. They know who they are. They know who they are from personal exchanges. They know who they are from mutual respect of fundamental rights. They know who they are, and that's that. Now, Roger Toll's first instance of abduction occurred verbally while I was under this test-based scenario of employment. He'd said, "Be a good poof," by which he would later follow saying, "A poof is just a person whose responsibility comes with a rebellion against his own sexuality." Him, because of his Masonic beliefs multiplied by his hatred of Christianity, had only looked up a newspaper article concerning the conflict between my parents and immediately assumed me to have been a direct material witness. So it makes all fucking difference. If you're, like I say again, a member of my fucking family, as to constitute complicity in things like conspiracy to get me killed. And what you going to do? Same drugs I put in my mouth while you put Jesus' body that you won't admit was a first century bisexual that shouldn't have been killed in your mouth. And eat it. And drink his blood while saying my father was an alcoholic savage. While that alcohol is the blood of the same murdered man who you say was murdered so you could get a Sega Dreamcast. Whoa! Fucking wow! That's incredible. A Sega Dreamcast. I already read the obituary in a prophecy of Curb Your Enthusiasm. There was an article. Yeah, it actually was like from the viewpoint of a brother, but she was an auntie to someone else. But he had there was a typo when he submitted the obituary. Poor Larry David, running into bad luck all the time in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he submitted the article for the obituary. It said, "Devoted sister, beloved cunt." It meant a beloved aunt, but when he'd submitted the obituary to the press, they had made a typo. Now, yeah. So these Freemasons have, and what I wrote, they got the white stars, this insignia of why they're so proud of their fucking cult religion that they hide from everyone. And then they've got this newspaper article on the conflict between my parents, plus the claim that they would put me through a police check process and that Roger Toll is like a member of the AFP working side by side with them. And me not appearing in mention in print in the article concerning the conflict between my parents. So there's no black text giving mention to me in relation to... So this obscured questions like, was I a material witness or not? Which, when you think of gene, recession and expression, would require my father in his state of anxiety to have, at the same time, engaged in a conflict with my mum, to have telepathically beamed comprehension of motive from his head to Pennant Hills in Sydney, to be absorbed in Carlingford in Sydney, to be a kindergarten lesson for me, to go out and be a fucking butcher. What it means, if you actually put your inbred religion aside for a fucking second and think about it, is I would have had no romantic life in all my years, no girlfriends, no sex, no anything, unless I was completely against violent conflict of any kind. And that's why it makes all the fucking difference. If you're not an opponent to Christianity, you can't represent me as a lawyer, Ms. Zhang. So you need to fucking think about this. I'm about to sue you now for reckless endangerment of life. Okay? Because you said nothing to me, asked me nothing, and said nothing ad reductium about the fucking profile and the paperwork you've had to go through. You have not met the criteria of an attorney whatsoever, and have already been reported in some small form so far to Meninga's firm. Now I'm going to go report legal aid. If when I come to visit Miss Zhang this week, she had better fucking start to talk like an attorney, or I am filing. I will file suits against legal aid from Meninga's, because injury. If injury includes that you have lost your sex drive in your prime, yeah, I'd say that could be an injury of some kind. But we'll ask Meninga, shall we, Alice Zhang, because you don't want to talk to your client. Well, I want $120 back. You have dirty crack. Okay, so all I fucking had was music that I loved, TV, videos that are inspiring. I already knew enough about media corruption from age 5 and injustice at the level of the media to be distrustful of the news. I already knew that until, and that's part of why Samuel L. has his... Many of us have a love affair with Judge Judy. I love Judge Judy. Judge Judy is gorgeous. And what I will say is that, we all wish that, and you can see it pissing off the journos. What about freedom of the press? Okay, what about the rights of privileged information during court proceedings? What about freedom of the press? Hang on a sec. Do you mean Jesus set you freedom of the press? What about... and I'm wondering why they're taking the same word, like a courtship ritual. Could they be encouraging everything from rape to teen pregnancies by saying, look, you're going to court. You're going to court. A female. What? Why are they using the same word? And it's a ship. A courtship? Like, yeah. It's early career Winslet DiCaprio. I'm Theosaurus of the world. Courtship. Blah, blah, blah. Now, after aggravated assault, when I was last taken to the Civic Watch House, and the police dispatched, obviously from the city station, to take me to the City Watch House, I was cuffed behind my back, and my face was head and from front of my forehead by the grabbing of the back of my head, aggressively and abrasively scrubbed into the asphalt by one of the arresting police officers. I want every detail on him that is obtainable for prosecuting him with aggravated assault motivated by things like Christian biophobia, meaning that you need only be open to the defense of the bisexual rights movement flourishing, and he will view you as a human sacrifice because he's breaking bread. He's watching Breaking Bad catch you in case you're using meth, in case you're not using meth, because anything on a screen you're lying about, or whatever he thinks. Yeah. I'm apparently lying about Breaking Bad, like he's telling you the whole truth and nothing about the truth about breaking bread. So I already posted a video to my YouTube channel. My Adidas sport bag that I've had for the majority of, again, my years, that had no incriminating objects within it. Yes, it had Bibles, but I'm an antichrist and I'm a writer. I'm writing books that include direct criticism of scriptures pertaining to the Abrahamic monotheistic faith traditions. You need Bibles in order to criticize them. The best way to go against the Bible is with the Bible. The other commentaries, no matter how indicative and exposing, are still nonetheless other people's research R&D work. If you're trying to be your own person as a writer, you do want to have the material you're criticizing in your keep. So, we'll play a game. Who wants to become a pedophile before I go to deal with other matters of jurisprudence? We'll play a little game because the way it works based on the facts at this point in time is that those concerned already know I know who they are and have to count themselves out of it somehow. So let's see how the game goes. One thing I can guarantee you is that there'll be no personal attempts to speak to me by Roger Marby Nelson at all. He is what you would say shallow and yet in too deep. But that's how free a Mason is. And that's how Perry Mason I am in relation to how GST free he really is in terms of being a thorough inbred dog. Ta-ta Roger, ta-ta Gary, the two of you get together with your definition of gay as a man whose responsibility comes from the rebellion against his own sexuality, while you think about the rebelliousness going on in your religious cult between the Yahwinian God, who's male, and Lucifer, who's male, who just talk, they don't fuck at all. But that doesn't give you any sort of biased definition of the gay community, which I'm not in, but I'm a defender of. So your definition was wrong even if I was in it. You're an abductor. And all you had to ask me was, were you a material witness to this event? And certain people in my family would still be alive and in better state of vitality to this day. You're fucked. You're fucked, and your fucking company is going, I think, I'm not going to say down under that, because that's the land that you come on, Aussie, you're men at work, huh? Yeah, sure, yeah. Must be pretty hardcore work. All of you in Canberra are like pawns on Roger's chessboard. It's why some have called him pornographic. But what I really hate is when they try and jeer porn stars when he reverse surveys through fucking televisions. Because what that means is, in order for them to make a case, male officers spied on someone masturbating to a female porn star. And that, I think, is fucking heinous. Consequently, anyway, I'm fighting, as you can tell, on the side of video, in principle, in the arts. And like I said, to turn myself into someone who, I had books, I had self-education from books, I had writing, practicing writing, whether in pen or online. I had digital photography works. I had making music, movie videos. I had shooting my own videos, and I had educating myself of watching videos. I was and as a resource to be assigned my mother's guard. Now, my mother has even supported this idea of saying, well, Luke deserves to be diagnosed with being sick due to video now, psychologically sick. I'm like, why? And what's her answer? Why? What's her answer to why? Because she's a liar with respect to her own beliefs, and thus interpreted this art piece. I mean, the fact that it's an art piece is why she would make no case against it at all. But she has. And that's because of things like her saviour isn't real, her saviour's man-made, her God's man-made, but religion won't allow itself to be genreified as either it can't establish itself to be fact, but it won't settle for the humble admission of being an artifice, an artificial, an artificiary, an artificiate, man-made maniacal. It won't do that. It instead wants to be an erudite fucking shrine of literary old and new dual four testaments to the truth, the whole truth, and none but the truth, so help you dog. And you got to touch it as you swear on oaths, as you go into court hearings, as you go to get your pussy and your dick touched in Christian police stations, where you could simply walk through an airport like fucking technological scanner that could instantly tell if you were in possession of any dangerous items. You may end up unknowingly go and walk on foot over a crime scene in relation to a police case yet not closed or resolved, because the inbred Christian policeman thought he'd touch your ass, your cunt, and your dick. Okay? Now, that's something very serious to think about. That's cops being penile delinquents. And this is very serious. So that they could potentially frame you. I would recommend anyone that gets frisked actually self-isolate in their residence once they get away from pigs. Because like I said, you'll be innocent. You'll be whistling a little tune to yourself, listening to music. If your phone, if your iPod, if you fucking off your Walkman, whatever. All-time fitness logo, and you may walk over the turf that the police have, to your unawares, that has been involved in a young unresolved crime, and they've touched you up to go off wandering. But they're not thinking about that because they're and the technology is all there already now, so that you could be remanded in police custody, walk through and a fucking airport security technological surveillance check, door pane frame, beep beep, scan beep beep. You know how spastic they are. They keep you at the watch house. After they'll touch your genitals, they'll give you some blankets, half of which you'll need to bend into making pillows. Lock you in there. They know you haven't gone out, and then in the morning. By the way, here's Roger Toll, who impersonates members of the Australian Federal Police, stating that schizophrenics change in their heads from night to day. But while you could be detained at the watch house, frisked prior to the night, and then in the morning, you hand back the blankets they gave you to make blankets and pillows out of, and they repeat the frisking process a second time. What for? Because they have guns in gun holsters. Like, what the fuck is that for? So that's indemnifying of the initial frisking process being corrupt by their own admission, or being on lockdown in a watch house with 2 cameras on you every fucking second, with no means to exit, no possessions on you for which you could ever harm yourself or anybody else, all your personal effects confiscated, and they frisk you again the following morning. Why? The second coming of Christ in the clouds. They just assume it's going to be a morning. It might be it'll be morning for, like, MOURNING on Jesus' behalf, because do you think when he returns with all these fucking stupid Christians, do you think when he returns that the first thing he's going to want to see upon welcome is another fucking cross? Yeah, that's really, it's great. That's like going up to former Prime Minister John Winston Howard, and saying, "Look, we've decided to, in recognition and honour of your time as Prime Minister, here's a flood of Asians. Please accept them as our gift to you. We know how much you love floods of Asians. Here you go, have them all. Alright, now what I know by the time now, Sydney fellows fucking had it. Fucking had it. Yes, I understand a bit enough about the margin loan that it gave confidence to early 1900s newlyweds to go, well, we'll take out our first mortgage on our home on a margin loan, and fucking then they recall a margin loan, the banks, the Rothschild family, that fuck off somewhere, probably to Hawaii to have fucking drink spirits with Scott Morrison, and then the margin loans recall plunges that causes this Great Depression. And, you know, my grandfather, my mother's father, emerged out of the Great Depression, great, but still depressed, just enough not to be critical, cynical towards the horrid content and filth that is the biblical. If you want to say how come when there's certain select loving material, like a slogan, Jesus loves you, everyone else thinks you're a tosser, like that sort of real politeness. What you could do is what they did when Jefferson made a book called The Faith and Moral Teachings of Jesus Christ. He took out all the supernatural claims. He took out all the fucking soap opera. He took out all the paganism, and he essentially just published the refined. What you could do to make the Bible respectable is look at it, look at any moral injunction or imperative or encouragement. Make sure it's not even never a command or a mandate. It can't be deviated from, because no one this bypasses the core of what we mean by moral talk altogether. When you say that your morals aren't from the heart, but from black and white print of a God who inbred you into a perfect state of an original creation. Now, you just take proverbs and lines of statements that are celebratory of life and that don't infringe either the right, any or all of the rights to life, health, movement, and expression. Those are unalienable rights. Those are owed to each person, by each person. Okay. Oh, but what if my religion is my right to expression? No, it's your right to fucking unilaterally take over the world. Fucking save it. By that I mean save your claim. Save your claim that your religion's your nominal form of expression. It's Hitler thinking. A one world final solution. Oh, you got a final solution. Jesus saves. Jesus saves money off conspiracy to kill framed bisexuals. Alright, so fuck you. Fuck Apple Chemist, fuck Pharmacy Services, fuck Roger Toll, fuck Gary Cairns, Fuck Cassandra Smith. 3 of them deserve life sentences, life imprisonment, life fucking sentences. That's what they fucking deserve. The 3 of them. And granted, while incarcerated, Cassandra Smith may prove she's a bigger man. But it's not my problem either way. I just want them to fuck off forever. And forever may not be long enough for this love.